Recording? Perfect. So I'm going to welcome everyone to the February 2025 OWASP Global Board meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order by first taking attendance. And just got a people list going on here as I see people. Wow, everyone's moved around. Okay. Steve?
Here.
All right. Ashwini?
Yo.
Avi?
Here.
Diego?
Here.
Harold?
Here.
Oh no, people are moving. And I am here. Did I get everyone?
You forgot me, but
Oh,
Sam is
sorry,
here.
Sam. That list is moving, man. So sorry.
Yeah.
And Sam is here as well. My apologies, Sam. I could never forget you, my friend. All right. So it looks like everyone's here. And we're going to go with the conflict of interest and antitrust statement. So I'm going to quickly read it just to make sure that everyone, all the board members understand that as the board consists of individuals from many competing organizations, OWASP and its board shall abide by all applicable antitrust and competition laws to avoid any perceived or actual conflict of interest or antitrust concerns under U.S. federal, state, or regulations. Only the published agenda shall be discussed or voted upon or amended as below. If there are any conflicts of interest, please, board members are expected to disclose the conflicts of interest and must recuse themselves from discussion and voting. So I hope that's clear, and I hope that if anyone has any conflicts, you can tell them now or as we proceed on through the rest of the agenda. Great. We'll move on to changes in the agenda. I know that there was one request from Rob to come on the meeting at 2 o'clock. So I think he is under new business, the second discussion. I'm not sure if he's part of the first one as well. So we probably need to move that right after the management update. Does that make sense?
The management update should not take a long time, but you've got the CRA open source stewards and then the discussion.
If I calculated my minutes correctly, that should get us there.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Hopefully. But we will do it at 2 o'clock anyway, so it'll probably be the second to last one that we discuss. That's okay with everyone. Do we need to take a vote on that?
I personally, Sam, it's just changing the order of an existing item. We're just simply, we're still going to talk about it. It's just, we're not changing the topic. So I don't think it needs a vote, but Sam, as secretary, you have final say.
We would typically just have consensus for it, not take an official vote in the past.
Okay. Works for me.
I'll just swap it in the minutes.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we need to do an approval of the minutes. These were from January 2025. Hopefully everyone has read the minutes. Again, I will take a vote. Give me 2 shakes. All right. Actually, hold it right there for me. Sam?
Yes.
Harold?
Aye.
All right. Ashwini?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Avi?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
You also need to add Diego because
And
you're
Diego,
looking at
sorry.
the old board.
Man. I need a list in front of me.
Yeah, it's at the top of the previous minutes. What Andrew is looking at is the vote to appoint Diego to the board of directors, not the minute approval.
Yeah, I thought I
It's
might need to listen some
scroll up
more.
a little bit further. Yeah, it's at the beginning. Yeah, here. These are the board members. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very kindly.
Mhm.
All right, so it looks like that passed. And we are into the pre-reading materials. Andrew, did we want to do this further down as well?
Well, since we have guests, I think probably makes sense to do the guests first and then,
Yeah.
but I would recommend, because we've also got guests from, the charity CFO, how about we do the finance report and then the guests? And then we go back and do the executive director report.
That works for me. If everyone okay with that. All right,
Okay.
so let's kick off the discussion on the CRA open source standards.
No, what I meant was to do the finance report from charity CFO first and then move on to the
sorry.
CRA. Because Chris and Leah are also guests and they generally
Right.
don't stay after they've finished their section. So
Okay.
I'd like to probably just start with the finance report and then move into the CRA.
Sure, let's do that then. Chris, you want to take us through this? And would somebody share it on the screen if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
generally-
Okay.
Yeah, I generally
Hi,
let Chris do it.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Seems like you have a very busy day today. Which is in line because it's January financials, so there's not a lot of new information to report at this time. I'm gonna share my screen with y'all. Just a couple of updates. Andrew and I need to meet very soon to
Mhm.
finalize the budget, so that's still in progress. Also, we have a audit draft in place, so we're waiting for the
Mhm.
final audit.
It
And-
looks good.
I'm sorry?
It looks good. I'm prepared to sign the management letter as it stands.
Yes,
Okay.
I think we sent the auditors our notes already, so we're just waiting for them to finalize everything.
I have a meeting with Jeannie on Friday.
Okay, yeah, if you'd like to send that to me, I'd be happy to sit in.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, and I don't know, do we do an official board presentation of the audit or?
When we've actually got the actual thing, I'm happy to do that. It'll probably be in the March meeting.
Okay, can you all see the management report?
Okay.
Am I sharing the right screen? I'm notorious for sharing the wrong screen.
Yes.
got
we
it.
see them.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right into January financials. Again, we need to wrap up the budget and finalize the audit report. There's a few things that we're cleaning up for FY 24 still. And we'll be reissuing those reports once we have those final numbers cleaned up. We're working with Andrew on them. Just a few things trickling in there. But
So,
for the month,
sorry, with the budget, I've managed to get it down to minus 74K. And it's actually one of the items for business today. So if the board says yes, I'm happy to provide the revised draft budget back to you. And we can finalize it.
okay, great. Yeah, I know we have a few outstanding items that we need to go over, Andrew, so I'll send
Okay.
an email invite to you later on this afternoon.
Okay, great.
As far as January goes, our cash in the month of January decreased by $85,000, while AR increased by about $118,000. So our total change in net assets for the month of January was an increase of $43,000. Not a lot of financial news this month. On the liability side, we had a significant decrease in accounts payable. Total liabilities decreased for the month by $134,000, and that's just due to the timing of payables. So the total, it resulted in a total increase for the month of January in net assets of $169,000. And that's really just made up of the increase in accounts receivable and the decrease in accounts payable. Jumping to the statement of activity for the month of January, our total income was $341,000. That is up from December by which was at $132,000. The largest piece of that is sponsorship revenue at $270,000. That was made up of $149,000 in global sponsorships, mostly Global AppSec in May, and $120,000 in regional sponsorship revenue, largely Snowfrock, Basque, and Israel. So that was the main driver of revenue for the month of January. I assume that we're probably going to see that number, increase significantly up until May. On the expenses side, without the budget to have for comparison, we're just going to compare, I have December expenses here that we can compare to. Looks like swag was up, so there was some kind of purchase made in the month of January over December. Conference expenses, we're starting to see some deposits and things trickle in. I'm not sure what makes up this travel. If you have questions about that, Leah can look it up and see exactly what makes up that travel expense for you. General operating expenses at $22,000. Slight decrease in payroll and payroll related expenses. Over the month of December, I went from $102,000 to $92,000. And total
Lauren,
expense, I'm sorry.
Lauren's just pointed out that many of us started booking our Barcelona flights because they are extortionate. We're trying to book early, and that still didn't help. It's expensive. So if you haven't made your Barcelona bookings, please do so.
So total expenses for the month of January were $171,000 compared to $153,000 in December, largely related to those travel related expenses that came in January, and a net income of $170,000. And unfortunately, without the budget, I do not have a cash flow forecast or a budget to actual summary to share with you, but we'll have that next month. Any questions about January financials?
For a quiet month, we did well.
I'm sorry.
For a quiet month, we did well.
Really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's nice to see that sponsorship revenue coming in. Hopefully, we can keep up with our numbers from last year. We were very successful in sponsorship revenue last year, and hopefully we see that again this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, DC, we don't have as much space. And so that's one of the reasons why we have a bit of a hole in our budget. We're going to be going for larger venues from this point onwards, and hopefully we won't see as low sponsorship again. Sam?
Yeah, Chris, a question for you from the last month's meeting. There was a suggestion to revisit cash sweeps accounts to raise some income from the cash sweeps. Any updates on that, please?
If Andrew's done any research on it, we strongly suggest a insured cash sweeps account for you guys specifically due to the fluctuations in your income. I mean, you don't want to lock up your money in CDs and stuff because there are certain months of the year that you have very high output. So I think an insured cash sweeps account kind of makes the most sense for you. But I don't know if Andrew has moved that forward at all yet.
So we do have an account that earns nearly 5% interest that we can put money into. It is FDIC insured, and so I'll talk to Chris. There is an issue where they don't have access to the statements from that, and they need that for reconciliation. So
That's the Chase Money Market account?
No, it's the Citizens Money Market account.
Got it.
There
Yes.
isn't a Chase Money Market account.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll update the name.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually a linking issue. And I need to link that in my own account anyway, because what it does is when I log into Citizens, I'm the only user on Citizens who gets to see it, where I need everybody to be able to see it. So there's a linking issue. I need Citizens to sort out the access. And once that's sorted, you'll have access, because you have access to Citizens right now, don't you? Yeah, so it's a linking issue.
We
And
just
what's
need
the,
to update our view in Citizens.
yeah, so I don't know. So what's the current interest rate on that money market account?
Once we put 300,000 in there, we've only got 200,000 right now, because I can only transfer $100,000 at a time. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't running ourselves low of operational cash. It should be about 4.25%.
Yeah, I mean, that is, but that's FDIC insured at, $250,000, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, the insured cash sweeps account does make sure that all of your money's insured regardless of the amount, because they spread it out across multiple banks. That's why we suggest that account, especially for when you have cash the way you do. And again, we're really,
Okay.
I don't know about your current rate on CDs. I know I just opened up, I had another client just open some up and they got 4%. But, you know, we do have these CDs. I just think if we can get a comparable amount in our money market or an insured cash sweeps account, it just makes more sense for you guys not to have that money tied up.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen historically over the last year and a half or so, there's no upside from an interest rate to having the CDs, other than, you know, you don't have the access to your money as timely as if it was in a money market or a sweeps account.
Okay, so when those CDs mature, what we can do is, Chris, we need to meet anyway.
Yes,
let's talk
absolutely.
about- yeah.
I've got a big list for you.
Yeah, because we also need to do a variance on semi-restricted donations. What I mean by that is that the project's P&Ls. I believe that there was a discussion around the fact that we want to do more of them, and that I'm not sure what the issue is there, but with restricted donations, we don't get very many of them, and I was just wondering what that might be about. So let's have a meeting, maybe a long one, and we'll go through all of those issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Anything else? Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Ricardo, back to you for the CRA.
How do you unmute?
Thank you. We'll be beginning discussions on the CRA open source stewards. Who do we have in the meeting to kick us off on this discussion? Is there anyone joining for this, or?
I thought that was what Rob wanted to speak about.
That's
so
kind
too.
of what I thought in my head too, but
I'm also
He had a
happy to
few.
speak if you want.
I'm sorry, who's
Hello.
that?
Maxim Bala.
Hey, how are you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So I think there will be a few topics where I might weigh in. I don't think, and I'm checking with Andrew, it was the original intent that I would be weighing in on this, but it's something I'm spending a ton of time on. And I've recently submitted a document created together with Ola E. Johansson via Steve Springer. So Steve, did you submit this to the board, and did this lead to the discussion topic?
Yes, I shared this with the board. I think it's really relevant
Okay.
to not only the obligations of the foundation in the near future, but our partnership with regulatory bodies in the future.
Yeah. Give me one tick, and I will see about bringing up that document, and we will put up on the screen.
So in the meantime, is there anyone in the meeting? Should I ask whether you're familiar or unfamiliar with the Cyber Resilience Act? Because I can give a very brief introduction for those who are not yet in the know.
I think that'll be helpful in general, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Okay, so the you know how Europe's hobby is to regulate, for good or for bad. In this case, it really is for good. So like the GDPR, Europe is putting forward a broad regulation which impacts all products that are going to be entered on a European market, basically from 2028. There's some other obligations. And as of 2028, all of these products will have to adhere to a minimum, basically a minimum set of security requirements. And this is, in the briefest way possible, the first international worldwide regulation on product security. It's going to impact a ton of companies, whether you're big, whether you're small, no matter what country your product is being made in, it will be impacted. You might be familiar with the CE mark, which is currently, I would say, on at least the few devices that's currently on your desk. The CE mark is a safety related mark that is on every product that's has to go on the European market. And this has been for 40 years, basically. When you adhere to the correct safety standards, then you may affix the CE label and you get access to the full European market. And no individual country can like shift the rules and make it difficult for you. They're now using this same CE mark, this same set of rules to enforce product security. Not only do products need to be secure by default, secure by design, you also as an organization, you will need to do vulnerability handling. You will need to provide vulnerability and security, vulnerability support and security updates for the lifetime of the device with a minimum of 5 years. So it's extremely impactful. And from within OWASP, there's a few people who've been very involved in working with the Commission, but also through Eclipse. There's a working group, the Open Regulatory Compliance Working Group, and basically being the voice of open source, also from via OpenSSF. So we have some liaison status with a few other foundations where we're ensuring people from OWASP are invited to partake in the standardization efforts, as Rob will probably explain, but also in calls for responses. Now, the topic of the specific topic of the agenda right now is that as an open source foundation, or basically as an open source project, by default, you don't need to apply to regulations. However, there's kind of a voluntary status called the steward status, which is a new formal status on the European market, which allows you to act as a open source foundation without a commercial interest, and via that way provide some additional support for your products and for users of your products that need to apply to the Cyber Resilience Act. Both the Eclipse Foundation and OpenSSF are a steward. Now, we are also a code hosting foundation, and I believe it will be very beneficial if we see how we can basically help our products, because we have some projects. We have some projects that are more than just intentionally vulnerable code, project that people really want to use, whether it be commercial or not. And as a foundation, I think we need to support our projects in getting compliant, but also raising awareness, because the Cyber Resilience Act is not the only regulation that's coming. There's a whole family, not just in Europe, but worldwide. There's a lot of other countries that are working on similar legislation. And I just think that we're hitting the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot more to come. And as a foundation, we might want to organize for that.
So just to let people know, we are definitely working with the Eclipse Foundation. I know Maxime is also working with the OpenSSF.
And Eclipse.
Yeah, I did mention that. Unfortunately, the meetings that the OLC working group actually have are not amenable to my time zone. So I am relying upon Maxime being there representing. But if there is a board member, Steve, if you wish to take up the mantle, it'd be really good to make sure we have high level representation at the Eclipse Foundation, because there's a bunch of other open source foundations there, including the Python, PHP, and other organizations at the table at Eclipse, and having the same voice as many of these other organizations will, amplify ours.
So yeah, I agree, Andrew. I have a couple questions for just general, if I may. Some of the requirements in the CRA revolve around, vulnerability disclosure, having bug bounty, those types of things. In your opinion, are those going to be applicable to us as an open source steward?
Yes. And realistically, that's one of the reasons why we've reopened Bug Crowd as a VDP. It's one of the projects that we have on our plate this year is to relaunch the VDP publicly. It is active right now, and we can use it, but it's just one small element. There's as Maxim has pointed out, there is a lot of documentation to be updated. Our tools in particular, our tool projects are going to be subject to the CRA, and we need to be able to respond to the regulation in the most appropriate fashion. One of the things that we need to do is figure out and provide feedback to the European Union is what's realistic for an open source with volunteers. So as an open source steward with volunteers, what can we do to fix a vulnerable program? So the idea is that we've got some relative level of safety with our tools. And if some level of safety is not guaranteed, we might need to do something about it. And
my major concern with the CRA and its potential impact to the foundation is simply a matter of scale. We have hundreds of projects. At least half of those are, sure Star has the numbers, at least half of those are code projects with tools. And if there are any kind of obligations in the CRA that we have to do certain things, especially when within a certain time period, how is the foundation going to be able to support those obligations in the absence of a volunteer for that project actually being available and wanting to do it?
I think we need to develop a process, and I think that's where Maxim's proposal to get a working group is really important. I could rattle off half a dozen things that we could get to be prepared, like inactive projects. Maybe we just archive them so that they're not subject to the CRA. But that's not going to fix all of them. We need to have, I think, a formalized and responsive approach that basically doesn't have a knee-jerk reaction that everything is going to be bad and everything is going to, it's literally, we've got to develop a project list. We need to figure out, is it actively maintained? And then we need to work out a process just in case. I mean, do we go to Upwork? Do we, there is a platform called Join Me or something like that, that basically rewards contribution by contributors. One of the game developers that I am familiar with uses that to get documentation for their game. We could do that to promote the use, but again, if we're relying upon volunteer effort, what's a realistic timeframe? These are things that we need to work out, and I think Maxim's proposal to get a working group will help flesh that out.
Yeah, and at minimum, I think we need to, if you allow me, provide some guidance from within OWASP on what are the expectations. For example, the questions that Steve has asked, like do we have any obligations? These are, I would say, frequently asked questions that should be distributed in support of the projects, ideally from within OWASP. Worst case, like minimum effort, we can point to resources at Eclipse or at OpenSSL. But it would be nice to have a central point for questions where project leaders can go to.
Yeah. There is Eclipse Foundation actually has a documentation project for the CRA that is really good. I don't think we need to replicate that work, but I certainly do think that we need to have our own guidance. We need to be educating our leaders this year.
2027 is going to come around really fast.
Sure is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, particularly next year, but one of the focuses for us is our 25th anniversary is next year. I don't want to detract from the things that absolutely needs to happen, like the CRA. So I don't want to miss out on our 25th anniversary because we're doing the CRA, but we've got to do both. We've got to walk and chew gum at the same time.
All right.
So I think honestly, the board actually has a strategy around categorizing projects. I think honestly, we need to evolve that at the Amsterdam meeting. I would highly recommend to the board that their working group be set up.
Yeah, I see that Star put in the chat that there's some effort going on to do some cleanup, and some messaging will go by next week. So that's a good thing, but we will definitely have to talk about that in April. All right. Are there any action points that stem from here? I think there might be one more in here. Star suggesting a working group. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more, please, Star?
I think it's part of your strategy session as part of the document that Maxime put forth, but just to really kind of charter it and get OWASP collaborating as a whole. Because it's frankly the same three faces that show up to this. And as much as we all want it, we need to make sure that it's supported at every level of our organization.
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah, and Ricardo, I think there are two actions there, so we need to probably at the strategy meeting. So for you to add it to the draft agenda, to look at the projects which might be affected, and also the projects that can be used as the helper for the CRA, because obviously we have the tools which I mentioned that organizations need to use as well.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, the classification that Steve was talking about.
Yes.
I would also say with an action item to get a informal working group together until we've had a chance to talk about what working groups look like, because I don't think this is a committee. I think this is honestly a working group, and we just have an informal one of interested parties. Because I don't want to wait basically 2 months to get this process started. I think we need to move faster than that. Okay, so Maxim, could I get you to set up in fact, what I'll do is I'll get a Google group set up for you. And if you can organize to run regular meetings, I'll attend at least the very first one. And if a board member, Steve, you seem to be on top of this. I think probably it should be you. Who else should be involved, Maxim? Obviously, Ollie, yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, Rob, especially from the standardization aspect, I hope the AI Act work will dwindle down and is jumping on the CRA bandwagon soon. There's a few more. We already have a Slack channel, and I'll use that Slack channel to basically point them to the Google group and get the first interested parties. And otherwise, Christian Follini, for example, I don't know them by heart, but there's a regular movement in the Slack chat.
Excellent, no problems.
It's I can link it for those who's interested. Regulations and Standards Liaison.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get that done after the meeting. Thank you.
Maxim, thank you so much for attending today. I appreciate the CRA discussion.
Yeah. Sticking around. Yeah, thanks.
All right. So yeah, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. The proposed EU entity candidates. Andrew, did you invite any of the candidates here today, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so Maxim's one of them, Arun is another. And
all right.
Let me just see who else is here. I only see those two, but could be just my view. Yeah, those are the only two that I see.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about, yourself and what you do and a little bit about, what interests you about being on the board?
I'd be happy to kick off if that's okay.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so my background professionally is in Linux system engineering and automation. I kind of rolled into product security by building other people's code and then pointing out stuff that wasn't okay. I learned everything security-wise from OWASP in the beginnings, and I'm super, super grateful for the community here. Because of that, I started in COVID helping with the OWASP BE chapter, became then one of the BE chapter members, helping out Sebastian de Leersneder, amongst others, of course. Then as a user of OWASP SAM, became active in that community, went to the core team. So I'm also a core team contributor for OWASP SAM, became a chapter leader last year, I think, in Belgium. I'm working on the standards liaison. So one of the areas of focus of product security for me is like translating regulations and standards and basically external drivers into pragmatic advice. As a, like, to put bread on the table, that's kind of my day job, but I'm spending a ton of hours volunteering too. So yeah, in short, I'd say that that's it. Professionally, I'm really thankful for OWASP as a community. I try to pay it forward, basically, everything that I learned, and make sure that others get access to the same and more knowledge. And that's also what interests me for the European board, so picking up a more active role, and especially if there is a chance to link this up to the work in standardization and the work around the regulations there. So if we have a EU entity, there's opportunities there, and I would love to see what's possible.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have any questions for him?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Maxine, one of the things that we talked about during our meeting, because I have met with 3 candidates so far, and I'm lining up a 4th meeting very shortly, is how do we maintain the 2 entities with the same strategy? What's your view?
So as we think that alludes to discussion that we had, where ideally 2 representatives from the European entity should be visiting or attending the global board meetings and ensuring that we have a alignment on strategy there. I don't see this as or in my view, this wouldn't be a separate entity. It would be like many of the OWASP projects, under the same umbrella and working for towards the same vision.
Yeah.
So as long as we have a good communication flow going, then I don't foresee big issues. So
Yeah. Okay, good.
Any other questions?
Maxim, can I have a question? Because being a director, one of the serious questions, and we have it read out at the beginning of each board meeting, is conflict of interest. So obviously we're all involved in the industry. Do you perceive anything, and particularly any sort of commercial involvements, investments, and anything which you think might conflict with you being on the board of OWASP?
no. So in all transparency, in my day job, I'm a consultant helping companies build more secure products. I do this, of course, with knowledge that I, as mentioned, gain from OWASP, but there's no financial gain to be had by being directly involved in OWASP projects, I would say. I also wouldn't see how this gives me access to certain advantages. And I think I can provide a long list of people that can attest to the fact that I'm able to keep the 2 hats, the commercial one and the volunteer one, separate.
Thank you. Avi?
Again, consultants taking everything over. I'm kidding, Maximum Consulting too. This is things we've heard in the previous year. If I may ask, what company do you work for?
Torion, which is
Oh.
a company founded by Sebastian Deleuze from yeah, basically when my previous job stopped, I called him. It's like, hey, want to do something together? So of course.
Lovely.
Yeah,
So Andrew, one thing is that we need to make sure that any other directors are not also from Dorian. That would be the only
yeah.
thing.
So I'm yet to meet with there's Bertman Urel, who I've met with them, but I'm still yet to meet with Ollie. I'm still yet to meet with Leah. Leela has agreed to meet, but we haven't got a meeting in my calendar just yet. So I do want to sort this out. We're still, in fact, the next item is of this, the update, but let's go to hear about from Aram.
Yep, please.
Yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I haven't really prepared this, but my name is Aram. I've started with a very academic background. I have a PhD in computer sciences, and the lab I was working at the University of Leuven, it was hardcore focused on security. So I have a very strong academic background in security. Parallel to that, I've also started my own company, which is a small firm where I've gained a lot of practical experience in AppSec, mainly AppSec, and also privacy threat modeling. I was part actually of the Linden team, which is academic largely, but then there are some spillovers in the company life that I've brought with me. I am part of OWASP SAM core team. For a couple of years now, I've done quite some contributions. I've been very, very actively involved in that. And I am looking to take a more responsible role. And it's not just something that I want to do. I have a lot of experience with practically running a company. And to the best of my understanding, this is one of the tasks that will be involved, at least from what I heard from Seba, and not from you, Andrew, because you told me that it's less of an administrative thing. But anyway, let's say it's an added value. I'm looking forward to strengthen the OWASP organization and help it grow and deepen its impact. And by that, what I mean mainly is hopefully stop people referring to OWASP as the OWASP top 10, while there are more than 200 projects. And you cannot imagine how many times I hear like, we are using OWASP. This annoys me to the extremes. And I get like questionnaires from large companies, reputable companies saying, do you follow OWASP? And I like, yeah. So that's my pitch. Thank you for your attention.
Yes.
Happy to hear your questions.
Yeah. Any questions for Aram?
Probably the same question that I had before. Basically, in terms of strategy, what we'd like to do is we may not have much choice but to run the organization as semi-independent. And so one of the problems that we have is making sure that we actually maintain alignment between the two organizations. I'm trying very hard during the formation to avoid some of the governance issues that we have with the current one. But maybe you could just go briefly into how we align with strategy and then any conflicts of interest. I think that was a good question as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I might be naive, but I fail to see why there would be a problem with aligning the strategy. We will have conversations with exactly this team. Probably somebody's missing here. I don't know. We will talk about the strategy and then we will roll it out. If there are some administrative issues, we'll have to see how we can best solve them. And by administrative, I mean like anything related to legislation, things like invoicing, payroll. Although I don't think payroll it will be relevant for the EU entity. Might be, I don't know, maybe in the future. But I think,
yeah.
There's taxation as well. Taxation.
Taxation. Yeah, these are. I wouldn't see these as challenging topics in the sense of we just need to figure out how to solve these practically. And yeah, that is the answer to that one. I don't know if it's a good answer or not. In any case, we don't plan to like go rogue or anything and say, oh, we don't agree with this strategy and we're just going to do our thing. I think this is about having bylaws that say whatever is decided globally, and EU has to follow. Conflict of interest. I am the CEO of a company. I have majority interest in the company, and I'm happy to hear what I'm really looking forward to understand what is the document or the specification regarding conflict of interest. I have dealt with this at my university life when I was also running a company, although clearly the conflict of interest there was not so dramatic. We have been talking about this at the level of OWASP SAM project. We have created a document on conflict of interest. It's basically about hearing your rules and following these rules. And I'm someone that loves rules, and I'm pretty sure I can follow your rules, or you just kick me out.
Well, Sam's been updating the conflict of interest stuff. It might be interesting to see how that might be adopted across all projects. So I'll reach out to Saber and see if we can find out more about that. Okay, very good.
Great, thank you.
There were some questions in the chat as well, right?
Sorry.
I'm not reading the chat, by the way. It's yeah, the company's name is Codific. We also have we have a tool for OWASP SAM called SAMI. Yes, so there is also now an open source version of SAMI. I've talked about this with Sam Stepanyan. I've talked about this with Seba regarding this exactly conflict of interest between the open source and the commercial tool. What are the rules? So I think both Sam and Seba supported the open source initiative.
Yeah, to clarify here, so Aram, you have a company which sells a tool based on OWASP SAM evaluations, but you also which is open source, all right? You show open source, made it an OWASP project, right? I think this is where the perceived issue might be, but I think this is more similar to what we have with Defect Dojo, right? In terms of the
exactly.
commercial company and OWASP SAM as a project, providing basically commercial services around OWASP SAM based evaluations, and also having a software tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So having a conflict of interest is not a problem, really. I mean, you just have to announce it. And if there is any deception, like say, for example, you're trying to organize a SAM user day, maybe you have to sit out the voting and discussion. But that doesn't mean you don't have Matt was on the board for 4 years. And I can't recall the number of times that he had to sit out a discussion. I think it was like once JFK, and that was it.
Yeah,
you're probably right about that. Yeah. All right, Andrew. Oh, sorry, Harold. Go ahead. You had your hand up.
I just raised it. So that brings to light, that's 2 people that we're considering that are both involved with SAM, which would make, sitting out on a vote about SAM somewhat interesting. And the other question that I had that I think it's just a general question about, wasn't Seba on the previous EU board? Is that right?
Yeah, but I don't know that we're actually asking Seba to sit on this new board.
Right.
As far as I know,
Yeah, we talked to Seba. He did offer to help us behind the screens if we have any practical questions, any issues, any help that his experience can help us out. And yeah, we are a well-oiled machine, by the way, with Maxim. So despite
which is one of the reasons why we're both here is because the first question to be a member of the EU board is from, I think, last year about this time. Andrew, you know better than I perhaps. And so when the mail came in December, we first considered with OSBE, like who is here, who wants to help, and let's see what we can do. Nobody was volunteering, nobody had time. And so I checked with Aram, who I have a, as mentioned, well-oiled working relationship with, to see if we could both, in a combination, let's say, offer out to help, which is why both of us ended up here. Seba is for a while now not anymore on the current EU board. So do check it with him in person, or at least with him directly. But he hasn't been involved in the EU entity for quite a while, like the current EU entity.
So one of the ways, Harold, that we're going to try and do this, I'm still yet to meet with 2 of the potential board candidates, and we can have up to 5 people on the board initially. There is a proposal that we run elections in a few years' time to try to dissolve some of these issues. But I'd rather have active people who have our interests at best heart and have the occasional problem with conflict of interest than people that we can't reach and maybe anyway, I won't go into it.
All right. Andrew, is there any other updates you want to give about the entity or anything that we need to do next steps? Maybe.
So I wrote to the VAT desk folks about 2 weeks ago, asking them to move forward with the creation of draft bylaws. I have not heard back from them, and so what I've done is I've reached out to them using my alternate email address to see whether or not they've actually receiving my emails. This is a problem that basically it seems like I need to follow up every single email that I do with a phone call. Just simply make sure that we're actually receiving the communications, because it's delayed us by 2 weeks for no reason. I need the draft bylaws so I can start editing them. It's looking less likely that we'll be able to form the entity in March. We'll probably have to do it in April, which is less ideal. I think that Aram and Maxim sort of have differing availability in April. Avi.
2 questions. The first is a short one. How do we still have problems with our email? How's that still ongoing?
Well,
I know.
honestly, it's so incredibly frustrating because we've done everything right on our part, and it really comes down to these other third-party platforms, and they're huge, not blocking our emails. So I'm sorry, but I mean, at the end of the day, the absence of communication is the best indicator that I've got they're not receiving my emails.
Absolutely, I get that. My actual question is the brief that the structure that the lawyers are preparing now. I just want to confirm this will be defined as a wholly owned, wholly controlled subsidiary of
That
OWASP
is the
Foundation?
goal. That's what I've instructed them to do. At the end of the day, basically, there are structures in Belgian law that we might have to live within. We may not be able to be a not-for-profit if we're trying to do what you've just suggested, and that may have tax implications. So I need them to draft the bylaws and give me the information about the tax implications of being a wholly owned subsidiary. That also may limit our abilities to go for grants, but we'll see. What I'm actually doing is looking around at some of the other entities that people like the Linux Foundation and whatnot have to see what they've created theirs as, because I think if they've decided that, that's probably what we need to be as well. Yeah, Sam.
So Andrew, in relation with OWASP EU entity, you mentioned there's quite a lot of activities which are yet to happen, and obviously some of them didn't happen because of the lawyers' availability. I know you're traveling to Belgium as well. Do you have like a the list of things which needs to happen? Maybe that we can put it on a timeline and share with the board, so we're all we all know what's going on, and obviously also perhaps share with Maxim and Aram as well to see if they can help. Because, for example, if one of the steps involves things like bylaws and forming the board, and even if finding a lawyer, maybe Aram and Maxim can find
we've got the lawyers,
with the lawyers in Belgium.
Okay. We should have lawyers and accountants by now, right? So and we need to do this pretty speedily because don't we need it in place for the next event? So March is probably pushing it in my mind.
So I will push forward. I'm doing this in Monday.com. And so Sam, to your point, what I'll do is I'll clean it up a little bit, put in some additional things I now know that we need to get done, and share with the board. The board has access to Monday.com. They can see any of the projects that we're working on.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Any more questions before we move on? We are almost at 1 hour. Okay. All right. Where are we there? European entity, this chance to discuss. Yep. Okay, that's fine. Let's go to the budget now.
Okay. Let me just pull this up in the new window.
Yes. Thank you.
And just make sure it doesn't have any detailed salary discussions. And yeah.
May I suggest something before we go into the budget discussion? Ricardo, Andre, maybe if we could get the executive update from you, Andre,
Oh
first,
yeah,
because
absolutely. Sorry,
we
my bad.
postponed it because I'm guessing budget is going to take the rest of the call.
Yeah. Well, we've still got Rob, who has.
No,
not
it's still
joined.
Rob. Yeah. So, has he joined yet or no? Let's see. No. Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go. We've had some problems with double, some, not all, auto renews in Stripe and Blue Up, both kicking off at the same time. And what it is that there's a mapping inside Blue Up that says this is the customer ID for this particular person. And so we've had examples of about 4 or 5 people who've been doubly charged, and we've been extremely accommodating, whether or not they want a refund or if they want to just have their membership extended by a year. We are making sure that anybody who's affected, we take the view that we want them to have the solution of their choice. I don't want that to be a problem in future renewals. I want them to feel comfortable that we're good stewards with their money, that we're doing the right thing. The problem is that this will continue happening until we actually make Blue Up the source of truth for renewals. So unfortunately, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to end the auto renews in Stripe. These are what they call subscriptions in Stripe. And so when we do that, we will need to communicate with the membership community that when they will now get a renewal notice, and that's real. We're actually working on improving the templates and white labeling of Blue Up so that it looks more like an OWASP communication and less like a Blue Up communication. We will be communicating this widely, but we have to do this now because it'll just continue to happen until we do this. And so we just have to rip the Band-Aid, I'm afraid. But once this has happened and people put it in, the reality is that we have 1,483 renewals. Of those, 1/3 would have to go in and edit their credit card anyway because their credit card will have expired. So it's less than 1,400, but it is still about 1,000 people who are going to be affected, who will have to do renewals throughout this year and next year and the year after and enter their things. And so we need to communicate with the community that this is going to happen. We will reach out directly to the people who have got subscriptions, if not the entire membership, and just make sure that they understand why this is happening. Because 5 is too many for this problem, and it's actually very difficult for us to chase down. We see the Stripe record, we don't necessarily see the Blue Up record, but what we have come to the consensus with Blue Up's technical support is Blue Up needs to be in charge of the renewals.
While we're on this topic, there are still complaints about members signing up and not getting provisioned or access to their email address and the rest of the account. Do we know why that's happening or how to streamline that?
They have to log a ticket. It's a manual process right now. And so what needs to happen is that, and we are processing those tickets as quickly as they come in, but they do need to actually process, like we need to adjust the text to make sure that they understand that they need to log a ticket to get their email address. This is a one-time thing. It only ever happens once.
Christian's actually sweeping for those. So we've improved the process since last update, which is that it is a manual process. He is in the process of automating it again. However, they run a pre-process, Christian and Hayden do, to just automatically based off of a filtered view. So like they proactively set these email accounts up. So I'm seeing probably a 60% reduction in people having this issue since what month are we? Mid-January.
That's great to hear because most of the people don't know that they need to submit that ticket. So saying it's
Correct.
a process is great. It's fine, but like Andrew said, we need to have that text because there are constantly complaints and questions. And for example, I'm hearing the events committee is having trouble getting reviewers on board because they don't know how to get them provisioned accounts, as an example.
Their reviewers were supposed to be members and they were not. And I firsthand worked one-on-one to make sure like I took care of anybody and made myself.
Yeah, so that was the issue, right? They signed up as members, but still didn't get their email address. And then had to come to you to do that. And didn't know.
I think those are a few half-truths, if I'm honest. Like of the ones that I created, there were a fair share that I had to make in good faith that they would become members because they were not.
I see. Okay, fine. But it's a long-standing issue. I mean, we see that comment in the community channel all the time. How do I get my email address? So if we could just change that text real quick to you need to open a ticket, here's a link.
You don't need to open a ticket. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is about a month ago, we stopped we don't. And I apologize for not giving Andrew the full picture or leaving somebody. I just hate that you didn't understand that. But we introduced a manual process where Christian and Hayden proactively sweep while Christian is working on the automation. So he created a view, there's a tick box and it says, yes, I want no OWASP email. And he filters a view of all of our members that have that tick box ticked for any given range of time to then go and do it proactively so that we're not having this issue.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
And that's only about a month old. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah. Sorry about not knowing the current process.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had a really successful staff summit. It was done virtually to help reduce costs this year. I think what we'd like to do for next year is if AppSec Cali gets going, I'd like to get the board to meet there and the staff to meet there. So we can have a staff summit early, we can have the board summit early. Having it in April puts us a little bit behind the April. So that sort of does rely upon AppSec Cali getting going. So we're providing support for that. The staff summit was actually very, very helpful. We managed to get a lot done. We've got a lot of initiatives, and one of the tasks that I've asked Ricardo to put onto the Amsterdam list is help us prioritize. There's way too many things for us to do this year. Some things are more important than others. We can work on things that absolutely must happen between now and April. We're never going to be short of work. So we highlighted a whole bunch of things like leader chaining, AI chatbot, Jira-based knowledge release articles, a whole bunch of things. And we just need to work out, for example, what is really important to get done and what we can put on the back burner, basically. And so, like, for example, these ones here, we know we need to do those. So there's nothing going to stop us just continuing to work and push things forward, but to actually get some prioritization would be very, very helpful. And I think that also would help the board to focus in on their strategy discussions as well. I am attending a non-profit cyber meeting in London. I will be going to Brussels afterwards to meet with our existing VAT accountants, they don't currently look after the books of the old entity, just to give them any final instructions that they need and give them the books so they can wind down the organization in the most appropriate fashion. I did actually email the directors of the old foundation, Ricardo and Steve. I was CC'd on that message. I don't know how well that'll be received. I haven't had a chance to look and see if there's even been a reply to it just yet. But effectively, we need to wind down that old entity and do it in a staged and smooth fashion. And so part of that is to give the books to the existing accountants and basically help them pay our VAT obligations. And hopefully the directors will participate in the wind down. The website redesign is moving forward. Thank you very much for your feedback, particularly Steve. That was actually very helpful. The reality is that we do need to, make our requirements a little bit more responsive to mobile platforms. And so thank you for providing that feedback. If there's anybody else with any feedback, that'd be awesome. Sam, I still don't have, I don't think I've got the list of website designers that you are familiar with.
Yeah, I've reached out to some and I will provide you an update on Monday.com, Andrew.
Fantastic. I'd like to get the proposal into the hands of a limited number of vendors, but enough vendors that we can possibly make our 150K that we've set aside for this stretch as far as possible. And get the process continuing to move. We are trying very, very hard to get to a single source of truth for any one thing. In our previous system, we had several sources of truth and there was synchronization between them. The reality is that we need to, this board in particular is very metrics driven. It provides you the oversight you need. And I really need us to have accurate metrics. And one of those things I think is to reduce the total number of tools that we're using. We have too many disparate platforms, and sometimes the reporting that's coming out of them is subpar or just not right. And so we need to look at our processes and redo our processes in many cases, because we haven't looked at them for some period of time, and optimize for a platform that has much more automation options and things like that. So Monday CRM is where we're going. That will replace Copper for sales, for event sponsorship, and also one other thing which I'm struggling to remember, but the glue up will be for membership and chapters, and also event ticketing. We will try to make sure that there is consistent use of the CRM. And this is actually a CRM, it's not a payments platform with extra metadata. So the reality is that we'll have a lot better visibility into where we're at with various tasks that are very, very important for our business as usual. I want to make sure that we have strategic platforms in place and minimize our total fees for software. I think that's just really quite important. Operations, we're finalizing the hotel for the global board meeting in Amsterdam. If you haven't yet made your flight bookings, please get them done. Dawn, how's the booking going with Amsterdam?
The whole meeting's already paid for, so they'll send me menus when we get closer, so that's all done.
Okay. Avi, if you could work with Dawn on what kosher options you want to have done, because basically we do need to make sure that you have a pre-packed lunch arriving every day. And
yeah, I did already have that part. I just have to wait for a menu. So then once I get that, Avi and everyone, we'll choose.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you so much.
Yeah. And Ashwini, do you have any, can you just, don't have to tell us on the meeting, but if you've got any dietary restrictions, please let Dawn know.
Sorry, what restrictions?
dietary restrictions, like if you're vegetarian or vegan, or anything
Yes,
like that?
I'm a vegetarian. Yeah.
Okay, just work with Dawn to make sure that we have those
Yeah.
options on the menu.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, and thank you for checking.
Yeah, my daughter's vegetarian, bordering on vegan, and so I'm very cognizant of this issue. Okay, Dawn, just want to go through the AR and then we'll move back to the main set of discussions.
We started working on last week. I sent out the reminder emails for anything 90 plus. I'll work with Andrew this afternoon or next week's meeting. Some of the stuff will be removed. That's just so old. And anything that would be removed is just, there's no deliverables were done. So, you know, things, so it's not like we gave the work and we didn't get paid. So that's just going to be a process we're going to do. You know, I'm going to start doing monthly and so on. So that should start to clean up within the next few weeks. Working on chapter tickets. I sent last night to Andrew. I thought it was on the slide, and to Ricardo and Steve. Happy to say me and Hayden worked on tons of tickets yesterday. By the time I shut off last night, we were down to 12 tickets, and half of them were waiting for them to reply to us. So we're in a huge, great shape with that. So compared to, you know, Andrew, what it was last week or whatever. So that's a positive. So
yeah, and I really want to thank Dawn for all of her hard work on this. She's actually worked a couple of weekends and late nights to get through the chapter tickets to make sure that we have no backlog, or the backlog is very manageable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Then if that's happened, then the slides with the chapter metrics are going to be out of date, so there's no point in presenting them. And what I'll do is, in the interest of time, is hand back. Lauren, is there any updates from events that the board needs to be aware of?
I don't believe so. I did add an extra slide on there at the beginning of the events deck just to outline some industry trends, just in case you find that interesting. It's just for your own reading. It's the next one, Andrew. But otherwise, I think the only other thing that the board would mostly be interested in is we're at about 20% of our budgeted ticket sales. So that's good news for Europe. But I will definitely keep you guys posted.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we absolutely do need to address, in the last 4 years, we've had an over 25% rise in costs for venues and food and beverage. We've had to do price rises and just to make sure that the event is profitable. We are trying to keep it as low as possible, but we need to make sure that, for example, the leader tickets covers the cost of their lunches. That's pretty much the minimum benchmark for us. So I'll ask Ricardo to put this as a topic of discussion for Amsterdam, but we just can't keep on absorbing such price rises without having price rises ourselves. We want to make sure that we're the best value. That doesn't mean the cheapest, but it also doesn't mean that we're black hat priced. We're somewhere in the middle, and we are trying to go to the next stage of larger venues, and to do so, we need to make sure that our prices are in line with our costs. So I just want to point that out. And with that, I'm happy to return the floor to Ricardo.
Sure. Is Rob here yet? Have we seen him?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Definitely wanted to get your discussion in before we talked about the budget there. Do you want to just go right into it, the OWASP standardization, and give you 15 minutes to talk about your topics there?
Okay, good.
The budget.
Did you want to share your screen?
I'm sorry?
Rob, did you want to share your screen?
Oh, I can share my screen. Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't have a presentation prepared.
Oh,
I don't think I need one, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very kind of offering this. First of all, I'd like to use this time to give my compliments to Lauren, who was very patient with me in the last couple of weeks as I'm a trainer for the Barcelona event. And as always, she came up with a pragmatic and workable solution. Thanks again, Lauren. Just wanted to share that. And also for your information, I'm joined today by a member of my leadership team at the OWASP AI Exchange, who's Aranish Salhotra. And we have 3 topics. One is OWASP and AI regulation outreach. Now, as you probably know, the 2 most active projects at OWASP on AI are the LLM Top 10 and the AI Exchange. Just going to give you a little bit of background. Most of you are familiar with this, but maybe not all of you. So both of these initiatives are doing well in their own way, and they're collaborating where possible, and they have different scopes. And the exchange is now at about 200 pages of material, and we put OWASP at the table of international AI security standardization. So we made a critical difference for an ISO standard, 27090, which is the global AI security standard, and the AI Act security standard. And recently we published our work on AI red teaming, and it got a lot of traction, more than 100 reposts, 600 likes. So we're doing well. And our work has paved the way towards more involvement in international standardization, like, for example, also the work of Steve and friends has done. One particular occasion I want to mention is working on the 27034, which Maxime, also present here in the call, is leading. He's quite keen on getting OWASP on board of international standardization. And in this case, the standard is about secure software development lifecycle. So it's more than logical that Maxime, as a representative of SAM, tries to be involved in the 27034, and they have been welcoming that influence with open arms. A couple of days ago, I sent you an email on behalf of the exchange with the idea for a narrative where we explain how OWASP is driving actionable, fair, and realistic AI regulation. The idea is that I write a blog to have it reviewed and amended by you, and then we can base a press release on that. And the narrative is, well, I guess an argument against the opposite narrative, which is saying regulations of AI should be stopped because they stifle innovation. And I think by positioning OWASP as a group of practitioners who can provide realistic and achievable standards, I think that's a strong story. And my request to you is, do you have any input right now for me to go ahead with this? Connected to that, can you provide me with a name with whom I can connect to write the story, and someone to work with regarding timing of this press release and making some noise on the socials?
So from the start, I'd like the STAR to be involved as the director of projects and make sure that we continue to move forward. This is a really important topic. I really do think we need to be at the table and put our viewpoint forward. Avi.
Yep, Avi.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify more of a point of order. It sounds like most of what you're asking, Rob, is really operational in nature. Between Andrew and Star, that this seems to be covered. Is there anything that you need from the board on this? And I agree with Andrew, this is super important and strategic, but the tasks right now seem operational.
This is just an operational question. Apart from your buy-in into this story, I wanted to bring it to you because it's quite strategic, right? And since since it resonates, that was important for me. Now I can work on the story, and that's the operational part. I just need a name for someone to work with.
Okay, Star is going to be your point of contact for this. And it sounds like you've already got a project for this to be housed in, so we don't need to set up a working group or anything like that. You've got the resources you need. So if there's any sort of funding you need, is there a funding request the board could help approve?
Not necessary.
Okay.
Then thank you, Star. I'll reach out to you, and thank you for your buy-in very much. Second topic is about the coalition on secure AI. And this is to test the waters and to get your buy-in on this strategic matter. I've been exchanging ideas with this coalition, which consists of Microsoft and OpenAI and Google and you name it. and focuses on the securing AI system. And they said it would be good if OWASP would take part in their technical steering committee as non-funding, non-profit partner. So OWASP would, without requiring any funding, become a partner of the Coalition of Secure AI. And I would I'd like to ask for your approval, and for that you would need to do, I propose a little bit of due diligence into this organization, and in my email I provided some of the material with our policies and their mission, etc., to see if you think it is indeed a good idea to further pursue this. And then the next step would be to get some candidates for this role. So my question now is, what is a good next step for this to get approval to go ahead, and some mentoring and coaching of me by a representative of the board, because this is a highly strategic partnership, the way I see it.
So I can help you with all of the operational elements of doing the due diligence and things like that. I'll go back and have a review of the email and basically move that forward. I'm assuming the board is going to be saying yes to this. I don't know who would be the mentor. Do we have any volunteers who've got an interest in AI to help mentor Rob? I see Steve nodding his head. It looks like Steve's going to be the...
I love it.
Were you accidentally nodding your head, Steve? Or?
Anyway, because I think Steve has the most
I was agreeing to the need.
Oh, okay.
but I'd be happy to do it, Rob.
Oh,
great,
perfect.
man. Looking forward to it. I'll be reaching out to you. And I'll be hearing from you, Andrew, on this. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
If there are no further remarks on Coalition on Secure AI.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
I go to point number 3, which is SANS. Erwin and I just came from a call with SANS, and it's pretty amazing. They want to partner with us with the OWASP AI Exchange, and they have actually a very similar mission to OWASP, right? They want to empower security professionals to make systems more secure. So aligned pretty well, and they want to do this pragmatically and move forward to the SANS AI Summit, which is 1st of April, to do a combined launch. No, let me phrase it differently. To launch combined work between OWASP and SANS, where they provide a guideline that is based on the framework of the OWASP AI Exchange, announcing a partnership between SANS Institute and OWASP. So I hope I can also count on some of the mentorship of Steve, because it's quite similar to the Coalition on Secure AI when it comes to how do you set up a partnership decently between SANS Institute and OWASP. And I could use some help in making noise for that SANS Institute AI Summit taking place 1st of April. They explicitly asked for this, and because I will be a speaker at that event and presenting the OWASP AI Exchange, I was hoping we could amplify that a little bit, and maybe I can work with Star on this, if you approve of it, that we make some more noise for this SANS AI Summit. Not yet getting ahead of ourselves and saying that we will launch a partnership then, because we need to make it work first. But the plan A is to have the partnership in place and to have a deliverable presented to the world. And I think this is a fantastic partnership with a lot of reach and authority. And the whole larger strategic idea is that these two names together might be so strong, are probably so strong, I believe them to be, to become the leading sort of driving force for one voice on secure AI. And I think that no other party, even not NIST, is able to provide this, and OWASP and SANS, that might be the combination. I'm interested in your thoughts, if any, or concerns. and hopefully approval to work with STAR to give that AI Summit some noise as a first step.
So with the co-marketing, that's Dawn, with the partnership, that's STAR, and I will actually do the review and approvals there. This sounds like an amazing opportunity. We've not dealt with SANS for a long time, not since Alan's passing. We used to have really good relations with them, so I'm really glad to hear that they're actually very interested in the partnership.
That's great to hear. Any other remarks or concerns, maybe things for me and our needs to take into account as we further explore this?
No concerns from me. Yeah. I think everything you said was great, or Rob. Yeah.
Yeah, just a big thank you, Rob, because you're doing amazing work and you are bringing OWASP to the international standards, and now we have an ISO standard and European standard. Many thanks
Truly.
to your efforts, and because we had no standards until last year, and Steve was the first person to surprise us all, said we now have international standards, Cyclone DX, and now you're the second person to surprise us. So yeah, all the support you can have from the board, more than happy to help.
Careful,
you.
though. Some people might forget that this is not just OWASP Top 10.
Yeah.
We're doing more. Thank you very much for your time. Ironish, anything to add?
I was not sure like it's going to be this simple, like unanimous stuff for all across 3 stuff, right? So I'm really delighted that it's actually going in the right direction. Thank you all.
All right. Thanks for giving me this time.
No
Thanks for all
problem.
your hard work.
Appreciate it. Yep. All right. Let's see here. Let's go on to the next item, which is the budget. Okay. Who's going to be leading us through the budget? Is it you, Andrew?
Well, Harold has seen it, but I think I've got the most up-to-date version, so Harold can chime in with his thoughts at any time. I have looked at the budget sheet, and there is no salary breakdown on the sheet, so I prefer to keep it here if all possible.
Sure.
So let me just zoom in a little bit. Move you guys over there so I can actually see the entire thing. The highlights are that basically we're looking at about $4.4 million of income. This is about $74,000 less than 24, and that is primarily due to the smaller DC exhibitor space. The reality is that for the first time, we actually do know how much our project income is going to be. So I do need to work with charity CFO to make sure that projects such as the CRS project, the SAM project, the Gen IA project, and others that bring in significant funds have their own categorization, so we can see what the money they're bringing in and make sure that they're able to spend it. That's not funds for the general funds. There's going to be a 10% admin fee, but effectively the rest of that is for the projects to spend. One of the things I want to highlight is just food and beverage is starting to get out of control. This is one of the reasons why it does make sense for us to think about, as we move into convention centers, whether we still do food and beverage for our conferences, or whether or not we choose venues that have lots of food locations nearby and that people fend for themselves, and we just do like a coffee service or something like that. These events are our significant fundraisers, and I think we've got some options that we could move towards in the 27, 28, 29 timeframe. We've been had a reasonable approach from Caesar's Forum, for example, which has no on-site food. That, you know, we could rattle around in that space and really grow, but effectively we'd have to find a solution for food and beverage, because people have in the past expected us to provide that, but it is significant. Harold and I had a discussion around the video recording. Both locations have their on-site video recording. It is still $190,000 more than 24. But what we've done is looking at Lisbon, its video performance, looking at other video performances, It's costing us, if we had the same number of views that we've had for the 23 conferences and the 24 conference in Lisbon, which are public videos, anyone can go back and watch them. It's about $7 a view. We just can't justify that. So we're going to record the keynotes and use those for promotional reasons. But effectively, one of the things that we do need to do as we go forward is look at ways that we could get low cost recording in. And I think that means that we need to make sure that the venues we're choosing are not locking us into a particular AV provider, because it's just ridiculous the amount of money that they're charging to record every session. Harold, did you want to pipe up there?
No, you're good.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So our costs for conferences is 322,000 more than 24. And that's also problematic in that basically we're going to get less revenue from our DC exhibitor space because it is smaller than San Francisco's exhibitor space. So those two problems are one of the reasons why we have a deficit. But saying that, we have put in 150K for the website redesign, so that number went up considerably. And so our overall expenditure is 4.4 million. It is 881,000 more than 24. We've tried as hard as we can to give everybody a fair haircut. So that what I mean by that is that if we don't need it, we are pulling back out of non-strategic areas where we can, and try to manage our travel expenses, our swag expenses, and that means that we need to be very particular about the remaining developer outreach that we do in 25. And next year we should have more space in our exhibitor area. Our pricing should reflect some of our cost increases. So we should be better off in 26. And of course, with the theme of the 25th anniversary, I think we can get a lot of people to attend our events. So hopefully 26 will be a better year. Overall, we are looking at minus $72,000 with 200K of investment. No matter what the final tweaks are, the FY24 actuals and projections that we actually have are projected for November and December. That's how long this process has been going on. I believe that Chris wants to replace these columns with the actuals, and therefore it might change our budget. But we've been through this with a fine-tooth comb, and I don't think we're going to get a significant variance from that 72,000, no matter what we do to the 24 sheet. You know, we've been through every item line by line by line, trying to find savings, trying to find increased income sources, bump up our and do stretch performance for things like corporate supporters. Finding new streams of donations. I think you saw one of the initiatives we've got is to do a grant with the Craig Newmark Foundation. Of course, we don't know if we're going to get that or not, but it's worth applying for, so that we can extend some of our projects and so free up some of the money that we've got dedicated towards projects at the moment, and use it directly on the projects that we think are strategic. Okay, so there it is. We've been through this several rounds. We've broken it down very, very carefully, and I think there isn't a line that hasn't been looked at very, very strongly. Does the board have any questions around the budget as it stands? I know it's an investment year, but we are doing 200K of investment, and out of that we just have a negative 72,000.
I've had
Bobby.
Yeah, so just one question on the summary that you shared earlier. On the income side, I'm just trying to see where you put the corporate supporters, because I see conference income, donations, and membership income.
Okay, so corporate supporters is this one here, 60,000 or 600,000, which is stretch. We earned 568 in 24. So I've done a stretch to 600,000, and I know that's probably going to give Kelly some connections, but again, one of the things that we want to do this year is a fundraising kit for the board and also our community. So get your Rolodexes out and help us fundraise and bring people that we haven't had to the table. Kelly is currently working with one very, very large US financial institution. I won't mention them on the board because that contract hasn't got through yet. But if that's the case, that'd be one of the first financial institutions that we've ever had as a corporate supporter. And hopefully we can use that to turn it around and get the other 23,000 banks to be corporate supporters, which would be ideal. Sam.
That would
Sam?
Sorry, I'm just Sam, if you don't mind. Just a quick follow-up. The roll-up that you sent in the PDF, where did the corporate fit in? You only have 3 income lines.
Okay, so that fits in this donations one there.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Okay, so what I did is that the final total donations, total income, gross profit, that ended up as the line in the summary. I wanted to show you the detail today, just simply because I think it answers some of the questions you have. Yeah, Sam.
Andrew, just going back on the challenges that you mentioned, one of them being the food and drink. Most conferences that I attend, there's always a sponsor which sponsors lunch and a separate sponsor which sponsors all the drinks. And I know we had situations in the past when we've run out of sponsorship places and there was basically nothing to offer to corporate supporters. It would be good to basically give the option to sponsor lunch and sponsor drinks. All the sponsors need to do just pull up a banner and say lunch sponsored by vendor X or drink sponsored by vendor Y. And I'm sure we will be able to, we'll have companies willing to have their logo displayed there, which is one comment. And the second comment, again, on the challenge regarding video recording. I think video recording of talks at conferences are very important. Very sorry to hear that the venues that we use, which are hotels, they charge exorbitant money for the recording. And I think strategically we should be looking perhaps at other venues where we can have community recording, for example, for Amsterdam and other European conferences where we had the community recording, which was of excellent quality, and we had everything recording. And the last DC conference was a complete disaster because we paid them lots of money and they just recorded talking heads and not the slides.
Lisbon too.
Oh, wow.
So one of the things that we did do with the food and beverage is we went to a coffee service across the entire day rather than having breakfast provided. So we saved 40,000 euros just for that one change. So yeah, we've really gone to town to try to reduce costs and still provide refreshments to the attendees. We're not promising breakfast in any of our marketing materials, so hopefully people will actually go to have breakfast before they arrive. We'll see.
And I'm just going to chime in again to say, although I can understand the visceral desire for the videos, they are really not cost effective when it comes to the number of people who actually view them. It's mostly for the people
I
who
disagree.
do
The
them.
reason is that there's no promotion. OWASP is creating content. We are a content generating organization. So recording of talks is is as important as OWASP top 10, as developer guidelines, because this is what people watch. The reason that's why some videos are not watched is because they're not promoted. We have, for example,
are you familiar with any of the statistics from the OWASP website?
Well, I'm familiar with statistics, but also familiar that when the videos are promoted, I have videos which have 80,000, 100,000 views because they've been promoted.
Most
The
of them
ones
have
which are
less than
not
200.
promoted, they're not. So it's
Yeah.
I think the recording of content is paramount. OWASP generates content. We should make sure that content is available for the community. Full stop.
Avi?
You all know how much I hate to agree with Sam. But I don't think the number of views absent any context of the lack of marketing we do is the right metric to use here. As Sam says, we do it for having the content. We do it to show history of the conference. If you have new people showing up to see the conference, what is this conference? What am I going to find there? You need to have that. This helps us grow attendance and sponsorship further. And don't forget, this is also a benefit to get speakers. You consistently have good recordings. That's something that good speakers are interested in having. If you don't have that, why do I want to bother with having 200 people in the room or having a potential audience of so much more?
Okay.
So my ask today is, I'd like this to be approved. I would do it as a conditional approval that the meeting that I'm having with Chris doesn't change the budget by more than 5%, which is the significant variance I would consider. So consider it approved if it's less than 5% variance from after we've met with Chris. I'd be very happy with that, or alternatively, we go to an e-vote once I've met with Chris. Where does the board feel that this should land?
I feel like we should move forward with this. Like you said, also, it helps you not have to keep coming back and asking us for approval for large sum items. So, and I know we want to get started with a lot of stuff. So in my mind, I didn't want us to push forward. We still have an opportunity, like you said, to come back and vote on it, but we should start to finalize this. Everyone should have been through this already. Concerns should have been brought up now. Still can be brought up after the meeting, but if they have any questions, now's the time. So yeah, my vote is to move forward with this.
Yeah, so there is actually a motion to approve the budget. I'd like to bring that to a vote, but it's up to the board.
Does anyone have some serious concerns with this? Because it is just a budget, right? So
yeah.
If there's not, then yeah.
My concern is the deficit, and yeah, I know Andrew said he tried many things to balance it out, but is there because we lost some money already, $72,000 deficit. Is there any suggestion, Andrew? How will that be compensated for in the in next year?
So what I'm going to be doing this year is make sure that we try to exceed our revenue expectations. As I said, we've actually done a price rise for some of the events. It's not a significant price rise, but it's a price rise nonetheless. Spend less on the investment. For example, if we get a website redesign done for us 150K, let's do so. Try to narrow that gap. But at the end of the day, we have lots of cash on hand, and 72K is, let me just get the calculator up. 72,000 divided by 2.888 is less than 2.5% of our total cash on hand. Okay, so I mean, we will try our very best to bring more money in. We have traditionally in the last 3 years brought more money in than the budget, sometimes by more than $1 million like last year. There are times where we just have to say, well, if we didn't do the investment of the website redesign and certification, then we would be in a positive situation. But we want to do certification, we want to do the website redesign. And so we might just have to bite the bullet and try as hard as we can to save what we can and bring more income as we can.
Yep. Great. Does that help alleviate your concern, Sam?
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, great. So here's the motion. Resolve that the 2025 budget is approved effective immediately. Sponsored by Harold, seconded by myself. I will go through and do a vote now. I've got a solid list now. We'll start with Steve.
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Avi?
Yes.
Diego?
Yes.
Ashwini?
Yes.
And myself is a yes.
Thank you.
So it passes unanimously. All right.
What I'll do is I'll work with Chris to finalize that budget. If there is any variance, I will get back to you with exactly what that variance is. If I feel that it doesn't, like, if it's if it's significant variance, material impact, I will bring it back to the board, okay? I mean,
Yes,
at the end of the day, this helps with the cash flow analysis, which we're missing at the moment. But this gives me the way forward if it's not so significant, for us to actually have that additional guidance for you. That's actually really important for me because I can actually see whether or not we need to dissolve the CD in advance if we've got heavy cash flow. And I can't do that right now. So I will bring this back to the board if there's significant material impact to the board, to the budget, but I don't think there will be.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. We've come to the point where there's any comments, announcements, or other business. Please let me know. Otherwise, we can adjourn. Do we need to talk anything, have a closed door meeting after this, or are we okay today?
The only closed door part is a update that I provided to the internal global board, and there's no action available for us at the moment, so there's no point in just read the internal global board on that privileged matter, and
Okay.
You're up to date.
All right, great then. Well, if no one has any comments, announcements, or other business, then I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
All
you.
Everyone,
right.
thank you.
All
Have a nice
right.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Let me just stop the recording.